Hello, everyone. So just as Dom said, I'm going to be talking about food and gentrification. And so just as a little background, I chose this topic originally because I've seen a lot of instances of gentrification in my community over the past, how long have I been alive? 16 years. And I just thought it was like really relevant to bring a lot of light to, and that's what I'm going to be doing. And so as a background, food is like the key for survival, um, cultural advancements, community development, and the presence of different types of foods in a community sort of reflect the changing demographics and the changing economies, and also just the increasing displacement of low-income people of color, which I will be talking about. And retail food options that are available in any given community sort of reflects the social and economic fabrics of the neighborhood. And so food-based consumption sort of adds the presence of culture or the lack of it to the presence of urban revitalization or renewal. And so first of all, this is what I'm going to be talking about. First, what is gentrification? How do corporations price out people of color? How do these corporations exploit the culture of people of color? What is the importance of small businesses in food deserts? And how can we combat food deserts while supporting small businesses? And so first, we're going to start off with a word cloud. Fun. Oh, okay, please. Okay, and so if you scan this code, you can input what you think the word gentrification means to you. Oh, wait, please. Is it working?
It can be a phrase.
But is it working?
But a short one. Don't write an essay, please.
But is it working?
It's working.
It's working, everyone? Okay, amazing. Yeah, so everything we have so far sort of absolutely matches. Loss of community, there's like a lot of not just economic erasure of local economies, but also cultural erasure. And we're going to get into both types of the erasure of culture in this. It is very similar. Segregation is a good word to describe this because there is segregation between races, and it's not just racial components. There's income, many other things. Actually, I think that's good for now. So we're gonna go right back. Okay, great. And so first of all, what do large corporations do in order to gentrify an area? How does an area get gentrified? So first of all, large corporations look for neighborhoods where real estate is able to appreciate or increase in prices. And although salary does not totally define who shops at higher-end supermarkets, it does define one's ability to afford living in an area. And so when large corporations move into an area, they increase the perceived like livability for richer people, and that attracts wealthy people, and it prices out lower income people of color who commonly, well, they are low income, so low income people of color. So, and then here, this is the Gowanus Canal, which is in the historically Black neighborhood of Gowanus, which is in Brooklyn, and it's extremely contaminated and polluted from sanitary waste and sewage. And so the Brownfield Cleanup Program, which was created in 2003, was a program made to offer tax credits for the cleanup of this land, and such as this canal. And except these tax credits ended up being a way for real estate developers and corporations in that area to gain money and capitalize on these low-income communities more so than helping the environment. And so in 2013, Whole Foods built a unit in Gowanus, and this was Whole Foods' first ever Brooklyn location. So you might just say to yourself, well, Whole Foods is just trying to help low-income people of color get groceries, right? But if you peel back the layers, it's a bit more sinister than that. And the company actually received $12.9 million in publicly funded tax credits for building in a polluted neighborhood, and also received more than $200,000 in taxpayer-funded credit to clean up the contaminated land in the brownfield program. And when they entered the program in 2010, although the program had good intentions, it often did more to benefit developers than to actually clean up the land. And Whole Foods have not been the only developers in that area and under the brownfield cleanup program to receive tax credits for building in bad areas. And among others are the Williamsburg waterfront rentals in downtown Brooklyn, which cost $16.8 million to build, but received $4.7 million in tax credits. And so how exactly were Black residents displaced because of Gowanus's gentrification? So most Black residents were questioned about leaving Gowanus and cited increased housing costs as their reason for leaving. And so we're gonna look at some statistics now. From 2006 to 2019 in Brooklyn's District 6, which is composed of Gowanus and 5 other neighborhoods, the Black and Latino population decreased from 38% to 31%. And according to Trulio, which is a website that tracks real estate trends, the median monthly rent rose from $1,533 to $2,229, which seems like a very big jump. And the median home value rose from $899,000 to $1.25 million. And at the same time, the median household income of white households went from $115,000 to $150,000, while the Black and Latino median income plateaued at around $40,000 to $50,000 for around 13 years, which when you account for inflation, that's really bad. It's not enough to pay for rent and other accommodations like food and clothes, shopping, all of that. So there's definitely some discrepancies. And as you can see in that chart at the top, the white population was at 49.2% as of 2019, which is almost half of the population of District 6, as opposed to how Gowanus was before the 21st century, when it was overwhelmingly a Black population. And so now we're going to look at another example, except this time Black communities are actually fighting back against potential displacement. And so in 2014, Trader Joe's withdrew plans to build in a historically Black neighborhood called Albina in Portland, Oregon, after protests by the African American Leadership Forum. And the forum objected to a $2.4 million subsidy or payment by the city's government to build on the proposed site. And the protest ended up working because not only did Trader Joe's not end up building on the proposed site, but the mayor allocated about $20 million to the funding of affordable housing in the city. And so it was definitely a success. New York City can take notes on this. And other work has been done to ensure the displacement is stopped or at least slowed in Portland, Oregon. And one thing is Prosper Portland, which is right up there, which is the city's economic development agency, which allocated $32 million as well to preserve Black-owned businesses in Portland. And after this, the local economies were thriving. There were bars, restaurants, cafes, all thriving as a result. And also as a result of the Portland Housing Bureau developments and their $80 million assistance to families affected by displacement and gentrification, about 500 public housing units in the city were built, and Albina, and specifically, has seen triple-digit increases of more than 400 African Americans, which is a lot for a town of about 5,000 people. So now we know how corporations displace existing communities, but now the question is, in what ways are the cultures of these communities exploited for corporal gain, which we will now get into. So food gentrification is not only a process of economic exclusion, but of cultural appropriation as well. And if newcomers in a community reject the foods of an already existing community or the culture of an already existing community, this would lead to economic loss, as we would know. But however, if gentrifiers refashion foods and make them trendy and more appealing to richer, wider, younger demographics, then they would consume what is being fed to them. And they're more attracted to these newcomers, but less accessible to longstanding residents. And so the promotion of alternative or elevated takes of the design and cuisine of people of color is a major component in the collapse of small businesses, small cultural markets and stores that rely on their cultural identities and authenticity to attract customers. And so large corporations like Trader Joe's exploit minorities and small businesses by making their products tasteful to a young, white, and wealthy consumer base. So now let's look at some examples of how they do this. This is a low-fat, thin-crust, spicy spinach pizza from Arabian Joe's. And if you don't understand what this is, Trader Joe's has this thing where they have labels on some of their more quote-unquote ethnic products that can be seen as an attempt towards a lighthearted celebration of culture, but can also be seen as kind of more cultural appropriation. And so, because they're also trying, it seems that like they're exoticizing other cultures by saying, oh, Arabian Joe's is different than Trader Joe's. And they also have different versions for their different cultures. They have Trader Joe-san for Japanese food. They have Trader Ming's for Chinese food, Trader Giotto's for Italian food, and Trader Jose's for Mexican food. And so this can be seen as sort of capitalizing on other cultures to make money and try to make free fashion foods and make them trendy. And this is an even bigger problem when the food itself is not even authentic. And, you know, as an Arab, this kind of hurts me because first of all, labeling this as pizza, pizza is not Arab. They would have done better just labeling this as Trader Giotto's. And also spinach is not only eaten in like the Arabian Peninsula or like the greater Middle East, it's eaten in a lot of other places. So really what makes this authentically Arab? And this personally kind of reminds me of the chocolate hummus trend in 2020, because it was just taking a culture and completely refashioning it and getting a lot of people to buy from it. So it's a bit strange. And here we have more examples. Cultural appreciation or cultural appropriation. You tell me, like, think about it. We have first here Armenian Joe's grill pressed eggplant wrap with spicy tahini sauce. And first of all, tahini is eaten all throughout the greater Middle East, and eggplant wraps are not traditional Armenian cuisine either. So what makes this authentically Armenian? And if something is called blank inspired or Trader Blanks, for example, Trader Ming's for a Chinese inspired salad, when first salad is not traditional Chinese cuisine, it's rarely eaten in China. And ingredients like chicken, cabbage, peas, and noodles are eaten in many other cultures around the world. So it's a bit ironic to call it Trader Ming's and Chinese expired when it's not really authentically Chinese. So here's some more examples because it's so fun. Now we have, love this. Now we have a Trader Joe's lightly salted green beans. And I have no idea why these are even called Japanese. I was shocked when I saw this because they are not Japanese. And they aren't, Japan isn't even on the list of top 10 countries that cultivates green beans. And so this kind of has me stumped. I don't know about you. And now we have Trader Giotto's bruschetta. And according to La Cucina Italiana, because I am not Italian, a bruschetta is a slice of bread toasted in the oven or grilled, often rubbed with garlic and topped with extra virgin olive oil, tomatoes, and salt. And even though I'm not Italian, I just know that there's something wrong with calling a tomato sauce a bruschetta, because this doesn't really look like a piece of bread to me. And sauce is also not used on bruschettas. And so it just does not make sense. So again, here, there's the question of whether these examples are celebrations of culture or cultural appropriation. When these cultural ingredients and dishes are resignified and made trendy and emerging at new places at unaffordable prices. How many of us have went and bought anything at Trader Joe's? I haven't personally, but yeah, you guys go. Like, if the food is good, you do you. And so besides the fact of cultural appropriation here, some of the cultures represented at stores like Trader Joe's and Whole Foods are marginalized communities that can't really afford a lot of their products. So these communities take to their small businesses, their small local bodegas and delis and cultural markets that stimulate their community's small scale economy. And without these small businesses, a lot of people can't afford food anywhere else. And so here, please. Oh God. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of high-end supermarket chains purposely target low-income minority communities for their profitability and growth potential, as we've already heard. And healthy and natural food venues displace affordable stores and restaurants, and transform cultural foods to quote unquote healthier alternatives. And the acceptance of this process went through the roof during COVID, when a lot of small businesses were closing and struggling, and corporations were booming, especially because of delivery apps like store delivery apps, Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash, all of that. And one major product of the pandemic was the closing of small grocery stores. And the New York Times estimated more than 2,800 small businesses to have closed in the US in only the first 9 months of the pandemic. And about a third of those were restaurants and delis. And so, although gentrification was not so much a cause for these stores to close, the effects that this closings of these stores had on their communities sort of signify the importance of small businesses in the city. And so here I have a video of Francisco Marte's Dominican-owned bodega in the Bronx that stayed open during the pandemic. And it is located in a food desert, which is an urban area that is very difficult to buy food in, or at least healthy food in. So think of like an area with only fast food and McDonald's, no farmers markets or anywhere to buy fresh produce. So let's watch this and see how small bodegas served the community.
Let's have the
Oh God.
So we're using all the time. Yes.
When the still was shut down, we stay open. Even on the worst time when we are not making any money and we are risking our health and our family health, we prove again bodegas how important, how essential we are for our community.
During the pandemic, a lot of the bodegas were the only source of food for their community when other stores are shut down.
Lights, sanitizer, everything disappears. The toilet paper disappeared completely. That was one of the most hard stuff to find. All right, thank you. Our family. You can feel how scared was the community. You see that sometimes they pick us something and they don't want you to touch it. They don't want to get close to you. It was a local store owner that they were sick or employed, so they have to close down.
The area has been hit hard by the pandemic. It has an unemployment rate of 18% in December last year.
Low income community. It's a lot of people that they don't have the papers, so you don't have the right to collect. There was more people they asking for credit. So it was like I need this stuff and I will pay you as soon as I can. So it's hard for you knowing that cost, say no when you know that somebody hungry. You hungry, you risk to do whatever you want to get some food. We have a very big issue with the crime. The crime spikes so high. The case went down over 60% on my case. First, the merchandise, it was no supply. Second, it wasn't that much money neither. Workplace were closed, so it was no traffic. The people was in the house. The people was afraid. The people was making order online. It's still down like maybe 25%, 30%. Tough times coming for the small business.
Okay. How do I get back? Okay. 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 So stores like his served as the main source of food in his community, and his struggle to operate during COVID alongside the struggle of his customers to afford the food that he was selling, sort of highlight the importance of stores like his as opposed to less affordable stores like Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. And so now the question is, how can we combat food deserts while still supporting small businesses? And so first we can demand that corporations like Trader Joe's and Whole Foods stop capitalizing on the cultures of minorities and instead cooperate with them and partner with these groups by supporting local suppliers and farmers. And we also have to demand that they not build units in area that are vulnerable to appreciation in costs of housing. And if the African American Leadership Forum in Portland can do it, like NYC can do it too, we need to catch up. So in regards to adding nutritional value and preventing obesity in these low-income communities that live in food deserts surrounded by fast food with minimal access to fresh produce while still trying to preserve the culture and authenticity of small businesses. Instead of presenting multi-ethnic communities with these non-GMO, gluten-free, keto, no added cholesterol kale bites, it's important to add culturally competent resources to a community approach and materials on nutrition provided in people's native languages and incorporations of recipes from these people's cultures of origin to improve the qualities of their diets. And giving people resources to improve their diets would help them to become more aware of these nutritional choices that they make, even though a lot of the time people's food choices aren't really in their control, especially if they live in food deserts. And so beyond education, we would need some type of government intervention, and we need better funded community gardens and locally sourced fruits and vegetables, more programs to support the distribution of healthy and nutritious fresh foods, because a self-sufficient community is a thriving community. And many neighborhoods need somewhere to start, and local and state governments need to get with it to support their citizens. And so now you might be asking, what can you specifically do? And first, you can volunteer at community gardens in food distributions. A lot of organizations in the city need volunteers to operate. And even if that's just too much, you can donate to food banks online and advocate for policy changes, use your platform and position to spread awareness. And even if just one person acts on the information that you've shared, you will have made a difference. Thank you.